Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russ Osborne, and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. How are you? Hope you're good. Now, the last episode, I previewed the Lionesses' recent friendlies against both Brazil and Australia. Won one, lost one. Both had a few talking points, to say the least. Rather than review them now, I'm hoping to cover them in the next preview episode for the Lionesses. That one looks at the games against China and Ghana, where, all things being well, I'll once again be joined by Zoe Blanche from the Lionesses Pub, Lionesses Den, where hopefully we can chew the fat then. So stay subscribed, we'll cover that then. Now, this episode, I need to tell you about the U17 World Cup. It's on the horizon. You may have seen it advertised on various ITV covered games recently. You know, when there's a break in play, it's an opportunity for the commentators to mention what's coming up on the channel. Well, I believe for the first time the competition is being shown live on terrestrial telly. Now, it's clearly being shown because England are participating in it, and I'll come to how they got there soon. But I have looked at this tournament, the Under-17 World Cup, before. Episode 291. I gave you a brief on it then. Well, that was 2 years ago, in 2023, when it took place in Indonesia. So I'll do no harm to refresh you once again, because a lot's happened, I think, since then. Because normally it takes place every other year. And this year it's taking place in Qatar, who were announced as hosts only last year. But not only that, but they were announced as hosts for the next 5 years, until 2029, as the format of it changes to a yearly competition. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to work going forward, or indeed if it's a good thing, or if it's a good thing that one sole nation, such as Qatar, is allowed to host it in this fashion. We all know the news surrounding Qatar hosting the World Cup in 2022. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, as I search for the cha-ching sound. There it is. Of course, Qatar hosted the 2022 Senior Men's World Cup, famously where all 8 grounds were within, was it 40 odd minutes of each other? Now, for this tournament, only one of those grounds will be used, the Khalifa International Stadium. That's the one where we beat Iran 6-2 in our opening game, and this will be only used for the final. And I imagine, well, with the greatest of respect, I can't imagine the group games being sellouts, shall we say. All the other games, the group games, the knockout games, all the games bar the final, will be played at the Aspire Zone. It's a sporting complex built for the 2006 Asian Games, and the Khalifa sits amongst it. But it also has 8 outdoor pitches, which will host all of those games. Now, it begins on the 3rd of November. It runs until the 27th, when, of course, the final will be played at the Khalifa. It features 48 teams. That's 12 groups of 4, which is just what next year's World Cup will be. So we might as well get used to it early. Both the group winners and the runners-up qualify automatically for the next stage, along with the 8 best third-place teams. They all progress to the last 32 knockouts, which means we we lose 16 nations from the first round. So we lose 16 from those 48 starting teams. It's the 20th edition of the tournament. And as I say, it used to come around every 2 years, pandemics permitting. It did until this new change to it being yearly. The current holders are Germany, who beat France on penalties in Indonesia 2 years ago. Interestingly, since it began in 1985, African nations have been the most successful, with Nigeria winning it on 5 occasions, and they were runners-up on 3. Ghana have won it twice and lost it twice. Mali have also been runners-up too. And I find this fascinating because as a continent, they've not won the Senior World Cup. And European nations have won the Under-17 World Cup on 5 occasions. But let's take a look at England. Our only victory came in 2017 when it was hosted by India. You may remember we defeated Spain 5-2 with a team that featured the likes of Mark Gay, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho and Morgan Gibbs-White. Other players that have represented England at the same competition over the years have included the likes of Danny Rose, Danny Welbeck, Jordan Pickford and Raheem Sterling. And to the untrained eye, and I class myself very much in this category, the names taking place in the current competition are not ones I'm really familiar with, but those names I've mentioned there just shows the progression that some will and some can make. Those that I mentioned in 2017 have all featured in the senior team recently, although maybe not so much Sancho, but you see where I'm coming from. So how did we get to this tournament, I hear you ask? Now, this is a little complicated, so bear with me. Back in March, we hosted Slovenia, Israel and Northern Ireland, all at St George's Park in a round-robin group stage for qualification for this year's Under-17 European Championships. We won all our games and qualified for those Euros, and in doing so we also qualified for this World Cup. The European Championships, they were the ones that were held in Albania in late May of this year. We finished third in the group after drawing with Belgium. We lost to Italy and we beat the Czech Republic, but third wasn't enough to go any further. But back to this upcoming World Cup. 48 teams. We are in Group E, alongside Venezuela, Haiti and Egypt. Venezuela is on the 4th of November, Haiti on the 7th and Egypt on the 10th. And as I mentioned, ITV have full coverage of those games. So check your listings and also take into account Qatar is 3 hours ahead of us. I'll say ITV, more specifically it's ITV4. But if you happen to be in the Qatar area, I've been told that you can get a day pass to that complex, to the pitches, for as little as £4 a day. Sounds all right for some international football. Now, I could go through our squad, but in all honesty, I'll just be reading out a list of names who I don't recognise yet. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, as I'm fairly sure we'll hear those names, many of them, in the near future, and some will go on to play for our senior teams. But it is a 21-man squad with players from the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, both Manchester clubs, Villa, West Ham, and many more. Our manager is Neil Ryan. Altrincham fans may be aware of him, as he was a defender for them back in 2001 to 2003, but he played most of his game over in America. Now, recently, the team have been in action during the international breaks. In September, they faced Uzbekistan, Morocco and Canada. 3 victories against those. 3 sides that will also be competing in Qatar. And in October's international window, We had 2 games against France. That was at St George's Park. We had a 1-0 win and a 2-2 draw. And as always with a tournament, other than the seniors, it's always quite hard to predict how far we will actually go or who will win it. Those European Championships that I mentioned from the summer was won by Portugal, who beat France. I've already mentioned who's in our group, but perhaps you'd not associate the likes of Venezuela and Haiti as footballing nations. But along with them at this tournament, there'll be Bolivia, Fiji, Zambia, Tajikistan, Mali too. I guess this is a result of the expanded 48-team format tournament, similar to the nations we've already seen qualify for next year's Summer World Cup. And of course there are the big-hitting nations too, who you'd expect. Brazil, Argentina, Germany. Although looking down the list, there is no Spain, which is quite a surprise, I think. And if you're looking for another England angle, the New Zealand coach is Martin Bullock, who was born in Derby, and you may remember he turned out for the likes of Barnsley, Blackpool and Macclesfield. And he also won one under-21 England cap back in 1996. Of course, our progress will be covered by ITV, also England's social media accounts too. Perhaps I'll see how we progress and return to it as a podcast. Let's hope for a similar result to 2017. Now, before I leave you, I just want to mention the sad passing of former England international Mick McNeil, who died on the 23rd of October, aged 85. He was the 793rd player to wear the Three Lions, earning 9 caps. And this whilst playing in the old second division. As a left-back, he began his playing career for Middlesbrough, his hometown club, played 178 times for them between 1957 and 1964, before moving to Ipswich, where he played 146 times until 1972. He ended his career at Cambridge City. But his 9 England caps all came under Walter Winterbottom. And he made his debut away to Northern Ireland in 1960 in a 5-2 win in a British Championships match. And his last came against Luxembourg in a game played at Arsenal's old Highbury Stadium in 1961. In fact, in all those 9 games, England scored a total of 48 goals. That was helped by a 9-0 and a 4-1 against Luxembourg. There was an 8-0 against Mexico and a 9-3 against Scotland too. But I'd like to pass on my condolences to both Mick's family and friends. Thanks as always for tuning in. Don't forget you can follow the show on social media. Just search Three Lions Podcast. You can drop me a note through those, or you can email threelionspodcast@gmail.com. I'll be back with you very soon for some more England related content. So stay subscribed and you won't miss it. Till then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.